Hey guys, it's Dan and Richard from Tennessee Tuner Garage. What's up? We're starting the video on miking out the engine, the rod bearings, the rods, all that fun stuff, and the journals. Real quick, we're going to go over what Brandon and I did over the last few days during the teardown. As you can see, we've got the transmission over there. We've got the rod main caps and the girdle, which is one piece in this engine right there. We've got the oil pan and the front cover of the engine right there in it, and it also has the balance shafts in it. There's our head, which is still completely assembled, and we've got our block right there completely disassembled. Pistons are under our workbench underneath the Subaru 2.5 engine that I've got. And we've just got other parts strewn around our workbench because we haven't had time to clean it up yet. But in my last video that I uploaded, I said that we're going to be using a balance shaft elimination kit or making our own. Well, basically, the balance shafts are these two shafts right here. And they go in the engine to help reduce vibrations at certain RPMs. Well, Honda did not make a very good balance shaft on this engine, in my opinion, because there's no timing marks on one of the balance shafts. And once you take it apart, if that shaft moves at all, you're screwed. You're never going to get it back in time unless I'm missing something or the timing marks on it have wore off. This engine does have 300,000 miles, so there's a good likelihood that it wore off. But basically the balance shafts go in this hole here and this hole here, and they help reduce the vibration by being lined up with the crank at a certain turn, and at certain RPMs they'll make it vibrate less. The reason they did this is Honda did not internally balance the engine, and very many manufacturers do not do it, but they sit in here on three bearings that are very similar to a camshaft bearing in a old Chevy block or a Ford block with an in-block cam. On this one of the bearings is here, one of them is here, and one of them is here. This hole and this back hole are just there to help support it. It doesn't actually ride on them at all. This one has a bearing that sits in here that's attached to the front cover, and then we've got another bearing here and another bearing here, and the rear hole and this hole are just there to help support it, like I said. And all of those are fed through these little second holes here. And basically a balance shaft elimination kit plugs those holes up and raises up oil pressure a little bit, and this hole will get blocked off and this will get blocked off by a little plate. That's really all there is to it. There's nothing fancy about it or anything. And it frees up about 10 horsepower to 20 horsepower from what I've read, and it raises your oil pressure by about 10 pounds. We still have to clean the block up quite a bit. We've got to do a bunch of work to it, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Break out the micrometer, our dial caliper, not our micrometer, but it has micrometer setting on it, and we're going to start miking out the engine. So we'll pick up from this on our last cylinder. Alright, Dan and Richard again from Tennessee Tuner Garage. Right now, we just finished up measuring our cylinder bores for out of round and for overall size, and I'm very, very happy. We're not going to have to bore the block. We're just going to have to hone it. All the cylinders measure just barely over 85 millimeters. They're 85.01 at the highest.
I think 02 was the highest.
It may have been 02, but I mean, that's barely over. That's not even enough to consider having it bored. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and get some new hones for our block honer, because this one I got for $10 has a cracked hone there. This one's just old and dirty, and this one's cracked and chipped. So we're going to go ahead and get a new set of stones for it, and we're going to go ahead and hone the block, hone all 4 cylinders with a medium hone and then a fine hone, and then we're going to get a dingleberry hone to get our crosshatch in there, and we're going to just hone them all, make them nice and pretty. Now we're going to go ahead and check our crankshaft. So first things first, to make it easy to check, we're going to flip our engine back over.
There you go. Okay. You got it?
There we go. So our engine is now flipped back over. We don't have any bearings in right now, but we don't need them in. We have the thrust washers in, and that's it. So, Richard, do you want to put the crank in, or you want me to?
I'll let you do it.
Okay, here's the camera.
All right.
Right, so our crank goes in. She is a heavy crank. Brandon was not lying. Crank goes in ever so gently. Just like that. And right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to measure cylinder 1 rod journal. So, we're going to get our micrometer, turn it on, and zero it. Okay? It's set up in millimeters right now. Can you see that on there?
There you go.
Okay. So we got it set up on millimeters. And we are going to go ahead and grab one of our flashlights to make it easy for you all to see the numbers.
Good.
Here you go. Let me find my
works.
spec sheet right here. I did not write that spec down, did I? That's on the rods. Pin bore. I did not write that spec down. Great. So I'm going to have to look for that spec again. Basically, how we're going to do this is we're going to go ahead and set our micrometer up on there, or our dial caliper set up on there, and we are going to convert that to inches. We are at 1.905. There. Now we're going to check it this way as well. .900, that's within tolerance. I'm happy with that. So cylinder 1 rod journal is acceptable. Now we're going to look at cylinder 4, which is the one we're really concerned about. 1.885. 1.8840. I may be off a little bit. 1.8840. That's pretty close. I'll have to check the specs on that. We may have to run a little bit thicker oil, but that's pretty good. Enough that I would be comfortable with that, as long as the spec sheet is only off by a couple thousandths on that. So that's good there. So we're getting good numbers. Hey everyone, we just got done micing out everything. We finished up. We had only mic'd cylinder 1 and 4, and then I had a bathroom emergency. Guess that happens when you have a little too much fiber. So we finished miking out the rods and everything, and I found the rod spec while I was on the can. The rod spec for the journals is 1.88 inches. Now, to give you an idea of what that looks like, that's that big. Not very big. And after going over all the rod journals very carefully, we found out that cylinder 1 is 1.885 inches, cylinder 2 is 1.887 inches, cylinder 3 is 1.880 inches, and cylinder 4 is 1.880 inches. So this crank is completely salvageable, even with the pitting on cylinder 4 rod journal. Fantastic. After that, we went and checked the main journals, which is where it sits in the block and rotates on the main bearings. Now the spec for those is 50 millimeters. I'm not going to convert that to inches for those of you who don't want to do millimeters, so tough luck, do it on your own. Each one measured out exactly 50 millimeters, completely perfect, don't have to worry about nothing there. So crank's usable. We've already decided, based on that, we need a standard rod bearing kit and main bearing kit. We're going to use standard length and size rods, just H-beam instead of the standard drop forged piece of crap that every manufacturer puts in a non-turbo engine. We're going to go with a little bit better than stock pistons with a set of Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo 2.0 liter, which is the 4G63T engine, for those of you who don't know. Very good engine. We're going to use a set of piston rings from that for the first and second ring. The oil ring will use what comes with the kit, because that's not going to make a big difference. Those don't deal with any stress. They just keep oil on the cylinder walls to make sure that you aren't scoring the crap out of your cylinder walls. As we'd already said, our cylinder walls are perfectly good, perfectly usable. They're not warped or anything like that, so we've got a perfect block for our build. And unless we get the BC Moto sponsorship, that's what we're going to do with the pistons. We're going to go cheapo, $80 pistons.
I think we got the lights cut out on us.
So based on that, unless we get a sponsorship or I happen to come across $500 extra that I'm not going to have in my pocket, we're just going to use some hyper-eutectic pistons. They're a little bit better than forged, or they're a little bit worse than forged, but a little bit better than stock. And it's $80 for a set of them on eBay. So I'm willing to risk it for that, and hopefully if we tune it nice and slow and progressively start out at 5 pounds, then crank it up to 8 or 10, and tune it a little bit rich to make sure there's not an excessive amount of force on the ring lands, and to make sure that it doesn't go lean, and we put a lot of lean security protection into the tune, we should be okay. So that'll drop our total build down by about $450. So that means we're spending $300 on valves, springs, titanium retainers. We're spending $300 on the camshaft. That's $600 there. $250 on rods. So that's $950, or just under $950 after taxes. Another $80 on pistons, or $90 if we go with the engine rebuild kit, which comes with everything that you need to put a brand new set of pistons in. And it comes with your head gasket, it comes with all of the valve stem seals, all that stuff, which we'll probably end up doing that. And then we've got a $60 timing kit that comes with a water pump, and we have the oil pump block off kit, which is going to run us anywhere from $70 up to $170. We're probably going to go with a $70 or $80 one just to save a little money. And we're going to put some nice thick Loctite on all of the inserts that go into your oil journals here that we had showed you earlier. And then we've got our $500 or $600 turbo kit from Amazon or eBay. Now that's just a no-name Chinese T3 T4 hybrid turbo. Nothing fancy, but it'll get the job done. Good for 450 to 650 wheel horsepower. Now, that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for 400 horsepower. If we can't get that with that turbo and a little bit of extra time tuning on the hyper-eutectic pistons, then we need to go back to school. Not really. It's actually asking quite a bit out of this little engine without putting full forged everything in. But the crank should be good. The H-beam rods will be perfect. And the pistons are really my only concern because they don't say what alloy they're made out of. All they say is hyper-eutectic. Nothing extra on details. So they're going to be stronger than stock, but they're not going to be an insane amount stronger. So I'm really praying that they last for us at least a year so that we can save up to buy a good set of Bisimoto pistons to replace it with. If it doesn't last that long, I guess we'll have to park her for a couple months until we can get some new pistons. But that's the plan right now. We are going to go with ARP head studs, and we are going to go with possibly ARP rod bolts if the forged rods don't already have the bolts in them that they should. They should have a good forged bolt in them, but they may not. It wasn't too specific on that, so I'll have to look and see what they are. But all in all, we're at $1,500, $1,600 for a 300 to 400 horsepower engine that's going in a 2,000-pound car. Now you do the math there and tell me how fast this thing's going to hit 170 miles an hour, which is the top speed of that transmission right there. That's pretty insane. It's going to kick us in our seats pretty dang hard when we're done tuning it. So that's it for now. We're going to clean up the shop, and once we start getting our parts in for the engine, we may take apart the trans and look at the synchros and everything inside of it. But we also are going to be replacing pretty much every sensor for an extra security measure. It's not necessary, but it's a good idea. So that's going to raise our cost up a little bit, but not a whole bunch. I'm guesstimating we'll be under $2,500 total in this build, other than the purchase price and the paint price and the wheels if we don't get the wheels sponsored, which is pretty astounding to have a car that's 170 miles an hour that's designed to top out at 120. So if you guys think of anything else, any questions you have for us, let us know. We'd be more than happy to answer. We'll get back to you as fast as we can. Our email is tntunergarage@gmail.com. And if you can't reach us there, you can always reach us on Facebook at TN Tuner Garage. It's a page, and I'm pretty sure that it's open, that anyone can like it. If not, shoot the page a message. I'll get back to you. There's also a new app that I want to tell you guys about. It's called Amoeba, and you can download it in the App Store or in the Google Play Store. And this app is used to create other apps. Well, a friend of mine that I met through Facebook and this app, named Jonathan, created an app for Honda enthusiasts. If that fits your bill, go and look it up. It's just type in Honda in the search bar, and you'll see a picture of a 5th generation Prelude, and that is the group. It's a really good group. A lot of people there that are really intelligent, and I'm on there. I've got a couple threads posted. I've got a couple forums up, and I've got a group chat for the F22, or rather the F series and the H series engines. And there's a few guys that are in that chat already. I just started it today that are really knowledgeable and know what they're talking about. There's another guy that has a Prelude that's in Europe that has the same engine we have, only he has a fully forged billet block made by Bisimoto. He paid over $20,000, European dollars I should say, to have this car built, or this engine built to go in his car. and it's running 400 horsepower and fully capable up to 800 horsepower. He just has to get a better tune made and a few other supporting mods to get there. But he's a really good guy. His name's Anthony. So if you get on that group and you see him, hit him up if you have any questions that I can't answer. He'd be more than happy to help. And he's said that he's going to try and get us a copy of his tune, and we're going to add some launch control in there so he isn't spinning his tires so much on takeoff, because he has a really bad problem with spinning his tires under 30 kilometers an hour. So we're going to try and help him out with that, since he's going to try and help us out with a base map tune for 400 horse for us to compare to. That's about it. This has been Dan and Richard with Tennessee Tuner Garage. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.